Hello, and welcome back to the Resting Stitch Face podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Harding, with my co host,
Dr. Erin Sheffield. If your day starts in scrubs and ends in what's ever clean, that's talking about myself. This episode is for you. We're talking to Kelly Duggan, an image consultant. This episode isn't about becoming stylish or trendy. It's about removing friction. We're talking about why image matters even for people who don't want to care, like me, and how small, thoughtful choices can help you feel more like yourself without adding one more thing to your plate. So, Kelly, I think you have such a fascinating background. If I'm correct, you started in the dental world and then transitioned into image consulting, which you've been doing for quite some time now, winning awards, working with big executives and organizations, etc. I'd love to hear more how you transitioned from dentistry to image consulting and then kind of back again.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Sarah, for having me here today. Yeah, so I say I'm lucky. I'm the hygienist that stumbled into the image industry and professional presence development world through color analysis. I had my colors done when I was practicing. I don't know if I'd gone from full-time to part-time at the time in hygiene, but either way, I like style and fashion. And so I started color analysis and makeup business on the side and still kept practicing hygiene and then continued on. I was introduced further on into the image management process of the image industry and corporate image consulting. And so that's where business headed, where my belief was that, yes, you could look great, but the experience that came with you need to be poised and polished. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to be all dressed up. And, I was out networking years ago and a gal said to me, so, well, I'm all done with suits. She had been in corporate land and she was a barista now. And like, well, that suit would look kind of silly behind the bar with the coffee shop.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where it started.
That's cool. Where are you originally from? I hear an accent.
I'm from Michigan.
Okay,
I'm a northern
that's what I was
girl.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Lived in Colorado for a while as a kid, but came back to Michigan with my family and met a guy in Kalamazoo. I'm the gal, if you've heard the song, gal from Kalamazoo, that's me. Southwest Michigan. I got a gal from Kalamazoo.
I love it. And when did you first get your colors done?
91. I'm going to date myself here. Yeah,
Okay.
when color analysis was the big thing back in the 80s and 90s, I'd had the Color Me Beautiful book and I liked fashion, even though I was practicing clinically. I say my brain's kind of split half and half. I'm very analytical and science focused, but very creative and, design element aspect of things too. So
I love that. And I talk about this all the time. We need to exercise both of those halves, right? It's very important to wholeness. Yeah.
Yes.
So what's your color scheme?
Yes. Let's hear it.
I am a soft cool. So in old color terminology, I am a summer that flows to an autumn.
Okay.
So what they found in color analysis, and I think, Erin, when we met and had dinner that evening, we were chatting, I think, about that. People say, well, what color am I? Well, there's really a whole lot more to it.
Yeah.
There's a whole draping and color calculator process, but you're either cool or warm in your undertone, and you might have some neutralness to you. And then from there, you're either high contrast or low contrast. So I'm a medium to a low contrast cool that flows to a warm palette. So the science, there's a lot of science, what people don't realize. And I think why I resonate with it so much is because I am so split in my brain of very analytical and the design thing, that's really what color analysis is. It's art and science working together. And in my world of image management, you can use color as a tool. Like color communicates, there's a whole psychology and all those aspects to it that people don't realize that they can use silently as a tool to communicate for them.
Yes, that's so fascinating. I just got my color analysis. I'm a little nervous if you disagree. I just got it on Saturday and I shared a little bit on social media on my stories and I couldn't believe how many comments I got. I had so many views, hundreds more views than I normally do, and so many people commenting and so many people curious about it. So you think that resonated so much with people?
Well, one, it's like colors come back. So it's like the new thing to do. So again, date
Yeah.
myself here a little bit. Like it had been popular 80s and 90s. And I don't honestly know what triggered it to all of a sudden be a popular thing again, but it is. So to have a real legitimate answer, I don't. But I think it's wonderful that that it's back. It's a powerful tool that you can use to simplify your wardrobe and cosmetic and hair coloring choices, to making sure you have colors that complement you so that again you can be seen and heard for what you want to be seen and heard for. And then the thought of the whole science side of it and the communications piece, which really, we're talking about what I consider kind of some of the girly fun part of it and where business started, but where my passion and real love is where you can use it strategically in
Yes.
personal brand development and helping you get your message across. So, but yes, it's
Yeah.
very popular again.
Well, that's interesting how you're talking about the resurgence, because I've been wanting to do this for a long time. We didn't really have anyone in our town, and so I knew I'd have to drive a couple of hours if I wanted it done. And then part of me is like, I kind of want to do this, but isn't that what like older ladies do? 'Cause I remember when it had its heyday when I was a kid, like in the 90s. And
Right.
so kind of wondering, is this for me? Is it still applicable? Is it still something that's useful? But I thought it was pretty fun process. And then she said I'm a bright winter. Would you agree?
I don't really know what that means.
Potentially. Again, there's so much more in depth to it. I think the winter part, and I've seen you in person, so the winter part in the program I'm trained in, I'm not sure about the bright, but we
Right.
wouldn't know that without assessments
A little
and
further
yes.
analysis. Well, this is something that maybe you can help me with. But I thought it was interesting. This was on Saturday and today is Wednesday. So it was just a few days ago. And so I was trying to lean into some of those colors that they suggested, just what's in my closet, and
Right.
pulling out a sweater that I've always been like, this is not like my favorite sweater. Like, doesn't seem like the most stylish sweater, but I can't seem to get rid of it. And I think it's because when I put it on, it's like, oh, wow. And so pulling out colors I maybe wouldn't. And then I was getting so many compliments. And then even today, just trying to just modify my lip color a little bit. And even I was wearing scrubs and I'd hardly done my hair and I put a little mascara on. And then at my dentist's office, the clerk was like, "You look great today, by the way." And it was
Okay.
so
Yes.
surprising. Like,
Wow.
she's
That's
not the type
wonderful.
of person to give me compliments like
Yeah.
that. She has never said that. And the many, many times I've been
All
there
of a sudden.
before.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's
so I just
wonderful.
thought, this
Yeah.
is
Isn't
so
that interesting?
interesting.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
ha-
And
yeah,
that
it's
speaks
headed
to
you in the
exactly
right
what Kelly was
direction.
just saying. People kind of pick up on your wavelength when you're presenting yourself in all of your color, like that you should be, I guess. Oh,
Well,
I
and I
love
thought,
that.
oh, do you want to go throw
Yeah.
away your whole closet? But my thought is,
I
I'm
know.
very much the type of person, wear whatever you want, what you feel good in. And I feel like we had that conversation in person, Kelly. But also, I think it takes maybe the difference of, oh, that looks good, to like, wow. And if you're
Right.
really looking for those opportunities, if you're speaking on stage or you're doing content or recording a podcast or any of that, I feel like it is an interesting tool that I had never considered before.
Yes. Mm.
So what can you tell
Yeah.
us about that?
Very much so.
How do you advise your clients? Like, what's the psychology behind color? And I know you do more beyond just color as well. What kind of things are you looking at with clients, and how are you helping really change their image for strategic purposes?
Great question. So back to some of what you were saying, I would say what you want to hear from people is, "Oh, you look great," not, "Oh, I like that," whatever it might be, because then the color is probably fighting against your own natural coloring, or like, "Oh, your eye color pops," but it's probably because something you're wearing. It's what I say, if you're in the right color, it's like if you put foundation on. It evens the skin tone out, it evens and creates continuity or consistency from head to toe in a sense. So with that comment from the individual in the practice there, that's what they were seeing. They were seeing continuity in that. So that's important in knowing what color palette's best for you, what it will do for you. So I think too, you can look to color, how color communicates. If you think in the medical industry, hospitals went from code red to code blue for a reason, because blue is calming and soothing. Red and green intensify each other. So if you go to the meat department, in the red meat department, they're typically fringed with green, and it's because then it makes the red meat look more red and more fresh. That's not clothes related specifically, but it's just how color works. John T. Malloy, who is the author of Dress for Success, he's done tons of research and study through years past, and what they called the nonverbal mouth was a navy suit with a yellow tie or something yellow, an accessory for a woman, because it had the credibility and the authority of the dark navy, but the yellow is stimulating and open to the communication piece. So that's how color can work for you. So what I back that into, though, when I'm working with my clients, is a process that I teach is, one, you want to craft a total presence, and that's not only how you just dress and appear, but it's how you think, look, act, speak, and dress, and how you can position yourself. And as we're talking about dress, then you want to think about your audience and what you're wanting to achieve with them, that you can use your dress or the colors to help you do that. So probably you want to be more authoritative and maybe credible, or you want to be more likable and approachable. So when you're thinking of those two dynamics of the image dimensions that you want to create, that you can use color and then the types of garments that you put a look together. For instance, if you think of a matched traditional suit in a navy or a charcoal gray or on into a black, they're pretty authoritative, but the deeper the color goes, the more authoritative, potentially, with the more standoffish it could be. Or if you go to mixed match separates, like I have on a novelty style blazer and not a traditional suiting color with a navy pant on, that with the mixed match separates, it's going to actually minimize some of that vertical presence, the authority, the credibility piece, but it's going to give you more likability and approachability.
I love that.
So you can use color and types of garments in that sense.
So one of the hardest decisions I have to make in my practice and my clinical life is choosing what color scrubs.
Yes. Yes.
And it's bad enough, and there's so many even more colors than like last time I was choosing scrubs. I get so overwhelmed that I just put it off and put it off and put it off. So I'm excited to use this color analysis to help aim me there. But also, there was a study that came out that talked about the psychology of scrub colors. And have you seen that, Sarah or Kelly?
I haven't. I like that, though.
They talked about patient perception and trust and all of that. And I think like black scrubs, I mean, that's to me so professional. What's more professional than a pair of black scrubs? And that was the one that came out the worst for patient trust. So what do you think about that when you're choosing something like scrubs, especially in the dental field or the surgery field or oral surgery, where we're like, I feel like the most feared of all dentists.
Well, and in our field, it's good to have black scrubs because sometimes,
we get
surgery,
stuff on them.
And so it's,
that's like when I work
perio. Exactly. So what strategies would you recommend for our listeners if they are in the same predicament, choosing scrubs where they're wanting to feel their best and portray their best self?
One, I love the question, because all this transfers to scrubs. So it doesn't matter the type of dress you're in. You could be in your PJs. So know that you can take this into your scrubs, definitely. And I have not read, and I would love to find that article because I think it's going to align with everything I'm already doing in any kind of dress. But blues are always safe colors to go to. Blues are just a soothing, calming tone in varying forms. So the brighter they might get, the more energy they might have and be less soothing, where they're more muted or deeper. They're going to do that. I will say that I'm one that would say no to the black. Yeah, you might not be happy with that one. Better. When you think about what black communicates, it's the color of death, it's the color of morbidity, it's the color of mystery. So are any of those supportive to healthcare or dentistry? No. So is in scrubs to getting dressed in everyday attire, that fashion has made black the save-all. And what I will tell you what it is, it's a dark, not neutral. It's actually a cool color. So somebody warm, it's not going to be in balance and harmony with them. It's actually a high contrast, cool color. So anybody who's softer or more fair, it will wear them. It's not going to flatter them either. But if you think of a marine navy or a chocolate brown or a deep mahogany or burgundy tone, those are more neutral colors that you could use. But if you wear those in a column of color, so a scrub top and a scrub pant, that it's going to give you that presence and authority and a credibility. The deeper the color it will. So you get into light colors to deep colors to muted colors to bright colors. They all communicate differently too. Because I've had clients say, well, I can't wear green. Well, yes, you can wear green. It depends on you're going to wear like a Christmas green or olive green or a lime
Mint.
green or a Kelly green or a mint green. There's all kinds. So with black, it's just black.
So you're saying the little black dress is a big fashion myth? That's like the go-to.
Well, you have to have the right accessories, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say I have many a client who's had a closet full of black, and it could be scrubs too. And there's ways to make colors that aren't maybe as an image consultant's top choice. There's ways to make any color work for you. It's how you wear it. But in scrubs, I mean, that's where maybe you throw your cap on if you're in surgery or something that has a bunch of colors in it, or you wear a lab jacket or some kind of layering piece over it, so that ultimately it's so that colors that are complementary to you or closer up around the neckline and the face is where you want the colors that are best for you located.
So how have you been implementing this? Because you were in dentistry before, you kind of moved away into, did you say more like the corporate realm or just kind of outside of dentistry, just in general? And then like you're kind of bringing it back. And so how are you doing that? How are you implementing all of this information into the dental world besides just scrubs? Because colors are everywhere around us, right? I mean, I
Right.
see it 50 times a year probably on the little mommy dentist pages where they're like, hey, I'm redoing my office and I'm trying to figure out color schemes and things like that. Is that some of the things that you are talking with offices and owners about? Or what kinds of things are you using all of this information for?
I would say two-pronged, with
Okay.
doctors who are wanting to lead, for themselves. Maybe they're not just only in their practice, but say they're attending conferences or speaking, or there's things that
Oh,
they're doing outside of that. So, in my personal brand work, I work with them to define really an authentic presence. And again, it backs into that model of that you want it's a combination of that develops a total presence because we've all met somebody who looks great and then again we experience them. So again, that
right.
thought of how you think, look, act, speak, and dress. So
That was a burn. That was a very subtle burn. I love that.
Bless,
We
bless their
experienced
hearts.
them.
yes. So, or the thought of maybe somebody's not polished in their appearance and as fast paced as the world turns and goes, that if they were lucky enough to create another impression or two with people where they really got to understand the talents and the skill level and the gifts that they have, that maybe they got that second opportunity or third opportunity to prove themselves. But the individual, and I say for years, I just practice what I preach. It's how I've gotten into presidents' offices at big companies and HR directors and opening the doors back up in dental land is because I practice what I preach. So it also needs to align with, do your behaviors and communication patterns support you? So for the doctor who's wanting to lead a team or that young associates that's coming in and wants to say, well, I'm a DDS now and I've seen a few, you should bow to them and because they have the degree, but they aren't treating people in a great manner. So, how can you position yourself so that you can, in the end, you're going to ultimately be able to serve yourself better and align yourself so that you can have all the successes that you want. And then you flip it to the other side of it is like working with a team. How can you elevate your team to work cohesively together and represent things so that there's just butts and seats, returning patients, referring patients, happy place, all those things. That's my work. And it's all works around that thought of how in the image land, it's billed as more like your ABCs. It's the appearance, behavior, communications, and now digital presence. And it
Interesting.
all cohesively working together.
I think that's so fascinating. I've never been hugely into fashion. I consider myself a pretty low maintenance person when it comes to my appearance. And so I don't tend to put a whole lot of thought into what I'm wearing. And probably the one time I think about it the most is like going to professional conferences or events. Suddenly it's like, oh my gosh, I have to try on every outfit. And what am I going to wear? And is it professional enough? And is this the right way to go? The most recent conference I went to was a dental implant conference. And I've been trying to weigh these two personas. So when you talk about trying to help develop the brand, some of it, I never thought about the intentionality of that part because I think I'm subconsciously doing that a little bit. On one end, like, is this professional enough? Do I need the blazer? And then on the one hand, purposely maybe throwing the blazer out because I'm realizing my brand is a little more fun and authentic and approachable than that stuffy, super professional academic type appearance. And so I remember one day being like, what should I wear? Should I wear the Santa sweater or should I wear the blazer? And I ended up wearing the Santa sweater because I thought part of the reason I'm here is to meet potential sponsors and other people for this event that I'm putting on. And I want them to remember me, the lady in the Santa sweater, or to have a talking point. And I had so many people like, oh my gosh, I love your sweater. Oh my gosh, I love your sweater. What a great sweater. And in the end, I felt like it kind of worked, but it was a little bit out of the normal realm that you see at these kind of things. So what do you think about that? Was I right on track? Was I super unprofessional and way off the mark? Or how do you navigate these kind of things, like being authentic to yourself while also trying to live within the accepted standards, if that makes sense?
Okay. No, no, great question. Because yeah, it is a bit of a balancing act there when you're not sure. So, those individuals who are more bubbly and creative and so forth, now they could get. I have a feeling you could get away with a sweater okay than like that. If I walked in with a sweater like that, because that's not who I am. So it backs into that authenticity piece, and then again because when we think of image management and personal brand development, is there continuity in it? Let's say you come in with the holiday sweater on, but yet you're bubbly, but still controlled in how you speak and what your message is so that it supports it and elevates the fun and the creativity to it. That I think that there's ways to do that. Okay. A client of mine right now who is a leadership coach in dentistry, she's having some new branding pictures done. And that was some of her questions because she's a little bit more hippie chic and, how relaxed can she go? And where some people are doing these black suited power poses for their pictures. And it's like, yeah, but that's not you. So that's not going to resonate. You aren't going to be able to build continuity with that. So if you see people in other settings, and they're, one way, this way, and another way, and in another place, then
they can't trust you because they don't know which one's the real one, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So interesting. And so mostly part of what you do, like with the dental offices, is a lot of that, the ABCs and Ds, and it sounds like a lot of really just teaching people to communicate not only through words but also through image and behavior, right? I think that's so interesting because all of those things, we waste a lot of time on words that don't matter when we could be communicating through behaviors and image, right? And how we present ourselves, and how we're acting. And I think it's just such like a cool thing that you're doing because it really opens up so many more possibilities to reaching audiences and reaching people that you have a hard time reaching otherwise, even within your own team.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and I would say in my work, thinking like specific to chair side too, maybe not fully in oral surgery if your patients are sedated and out, but I figure the family member that's with them potentially is your patient as well, in a sense, indirectly. But in general or perio or pedo, that whole chair side bedside manner is really
Mhm.
important, and it's shaped by, again, how you think, look, act, speak, and dress.
Mhm.
So that was on the work I've done with practices, particularly working with a hygiene team, because I mean, I can work with any level, but because I was a hygienist for so long, but having better chairside conversations. One of my pet peeves is when you're talking to the patient, but your back's to the patient and you're looking maybe at the radiographs or the computer screen
Computer,
behind.
yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's like there's ways to stop your conversation, take a look. You might have to say a couple things, but if you stay turned and stay talking to them and they've got the back of your head, or it's through COVID, it was for sure an issue, double masks and all the headgear and everything. And I know the lingo, and I couldn't understand all of what was being said
Oh.
to me. So learning how to use I'm trained with in voice, so how to use your voice more specifically. So from that side to then thinking about the conversation, hygienist and I think assistants and sometimes doctors too, where they get into too much of a social conversation about Johnny's soccer game and what they're doing for the holidays. All those things are important. You need that
That's
personal
my favorite
side.
part.
Yeah, I know. You need that side, but you need to, I think, particularly for your hygienists or assistants who have degrees and certifications, if they only talk about the social stuff, the patient doesn't know how smart they are and how trained they are. That not that they got to use big words and so forth, but to keep the conversation somewhat on dentistry, what I say is that 80-20 rule, that yes, you need the personable side and the social conversation side to it, and helping the patient feel comfortable, and growing trust with them. So in my work, we help them with a combination of their behaviors and their communications and the sound of their voice, how to use that for a better chairside experience and better outcomes so that the patient makes smarter decisions with their oral health care needs, as well as what they're going to say when they're out of the practice and coming back to you. Also, this could sound like a dirty word, but to sell from the chair, but back to the thought of having your patients make better healthcare decisions. That in one of my programs, we taught the hygiene team how to seed their conversations. So, it's a marketing conversation. I'm married to a salesman, so I've learned through the years. And again, it's not to sell them something that they don't need; it's to help them make smarter decisions with their healthcare needs.
That's so important.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making along these lines?
The eye contact is one of them. Um,
Don't you think that
and
that's such like a that's one of those things that drives me crazy about the influx of technology is so often you go to the doctor and they've got their little iPad or they're turned to their back and they're writing their
Mhm,
note while they're doing stuff and they're not looking at
mhm,
you because they're tap, 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 tapping because they have
mhm.
like 10 minutes with you and they have to get all the information down because they have somebody else next door that they have 10 minutes with also. And so you don't
Yes.
get that
Mhm,
personalization that you used to have. And I
mhm,
understand it, but it just makes me sad.
mhm. I would agree. I would agree. I mean, it has all of these benefits, but it's got some negatives too. The whole quality over quantity thought, I would say, is like you'd have just a few seconds here and there where you have that quality eye contact and conversations with them so that it balances out and doesn't leave the patient feeling like they were just shuffled through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the other piece, I would say is talking over the patient or not allowing the team to be seen as what the knowledge that they have. I will say, when I was practicing, I was just subbing at the time towards the end. It's when of my clinical career, and it's when I was really focusing in on building my business. But I stayed working with my general dentist, and he expected his hygienist to know their stuff, not to do anything they weren't legally supposed to not do, but he expected us to use our brain for what it was trained to do, and but not to talk over people, where I think you can kind of lose them when you start to use too many big words, but not to dumbify it so much that that they don't think you know anything. Because through the
Yeah.
years, I know before I started learning these types of things, I had people say like, "Oh, you've got to go to school for this." I had to go to school for this. And then I would come back to color that people don't recognize or realize the power, that silent communication piece of color. So the thought of how you use it in your scrubs is really important. How you use it with your team. Yes, you want it to balance and harmonize with your interiors and all of that, but you want to think about all of it coordinating together and coordinating back to that thought of the image management process that I teach is total presence. Know your audience. Know what you want the feeling or experience to be. Or you want it more polished and controlled or friendly, or it's like the difference between what you might do in oral surgery to pedo. You think about the night and day of, unless you're an oral surgeon who specializes in pedo, but then you think of all the bright colors and what they communicate. They create excitement and all kinds of crazy stuff. You got to think about, do you want that going on in the practice?
Yes, I want excitement in my clinic. That would be new. One thing I think is really kind of a dilemma for women. I don't know if it's so much in surgery or medicine or maybe other places, but I think we're kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't, as far as how much makeup and time we put into our hair, because I feel like I've been criticized on both ends. Like if I wear too much makeup, then maybe that takes your authority away a little bit. You're perceived as just a slightly person who maybe doesn't know her stuff, or she's vain and spending too much time on unimportant things, versus if I don't wear enough makeup, then that doesn't seem professional either. Have you encountered this, and what advice do you have for women like us who part of it is we're wearing the scrubs and my hair's under a cap and it's getting a mess and I'm getting blood on my face, so putting on a full face of makeup just doesn't really seem worth it. But I also want to make sure I'm portraying that image to my patients that I want to be portraying.
Hmm. Well, for me today, compared to when I was clinically practicing, I wouldn't be painted up like I am. One, I'm on camera, so that makes a difference too. But I know when I was practicing clinically, my hair would be pulled back. I would have makeup on, but it'd be a pretty light application, and lipsticks and stuff don't stay on very good underneath masks and so forth. So even like a tinted lip balm, a finished look, whether it's just even mascara, a little bit of even powder foundation to even out the skin tone, and a tinted lip balm can give you a finished enough look that you're certainly not going to look overdone. But and then with our own coloring, those who are more fair and have lower contrast, like if I have nothing on my eyes, I have no eyes. My lashes are
Same.
blonde.
I'm so glad you just said that. I'm like,
Yes.
almost like, when are my eyes going to go bad so I can start wearing glasses? So
I
that,
know,
like,
that's why I love glasses
I
now, because I have
know, because I just
yes.
blend all right in.
Yes, yeah. So some people need it for more definition is what you might want, but when you're not in scrub land and surgeries and procedures that you're doing, you can think about more, I would say, when we come back to the style aspect, where our original conversation and color, I teach more of a systematic approach to personal style development and growing authentic style. So you look at not only color, but color's a pillar to it, and then proportion and line. So they're design principles just applied to how you package yourself and your grooming and makeup to garments, but color, line, and then your clothing personality or style. So those are that three-pronged stool that defines your personal style for yourself. So then the more true you are to that. So somebody who's in scrubs and not wearing much to any makeup when they're in clinical care land still might stay pretty simple if they're very natural in their style. But somebody like myself, I mean, that's what I did. I wore some, but not a lot, because particularly when I worked perio, because I had spit and blood everywhere. But like today, I have 5 colors of eyeshadows on. I have liner on.
I wouldn't even know what
have
to do with that.
2.
I finally went to Sephora for the first time, and I thought I was gonna, like, pop. I was, like, overwhelmed. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, what is this
So
place?"
where you back it into what's right for you. So now if somebody is I'll just use the natural because it's like the opposite of me. I'm romantic, dramatic in my style. So I'm that hippie chic, wannabe sexy girl. And in business, I have to kind of tone it down a little bit so it's not too much for business. So I go a little I go a little more elegant classic. But like, again, that opposite personality of me, that natural, the particularly the natural that's the roll out of bed and go person. If we put them in 5 shades of eyeshadow and eyeliner and brow powder, and so I have 3 lipstick colors on. I have a stain, a lip liner, and then lipstick over it. Because I'm on camera, it's wise because I'm on camera and I'm your guest speaker, your guest podcaster, I guess. Um, but if I'm on stage, I would do the same. I'm going to tone it down if we were just like out in audience, but I'm still going to have 3 or 4 shadows on, but it's going to look natural on me because the colors are complementary to me. The finishes are complementary to my style, and because my personality, my clothing personality supports it. But if somebody else that's not who they are, they're going to look like a clown.
That
So
makes
it's
sense.
when it's
Yeah,
in line to who you are, then it's going to be complimentary to you.
that makes sense.
And the more that you understand and define that for yourself, that then you have a set system. I know for myself, I am better in clean lines, exaggerated definition, like the big lapel is the drama to the look, but the feel, the hand of the fabrics, the type of fabrics, how I finish with my hair, my grooming is more soft and romantic. And then I know that I'm better in rich, muted, cool to neutral colors. And so you just get a set system for yourself. And then that goes into if I'm dressed in a suit, to when I was in scrubs too, to my casual wear, and to my sweats and my PJs. So there's just continuity in it.
Yeah, I was thinking when you were talking about just design principles in general, I remember having my makeup done for my wedding and just watching how she built on at like continued to build like with different
Mhm,
colors and different tones and things. I got
mhm.
to thinking and we were talking about it because we're oral surgeons and I was, rebuilding people's faces from the inside. And I was like, this is so interesting because it's all the same design principles. Like the things that you're trying to create, you're trying to create definition in my cheekbones. Like I do that
Mhm,
too. And we all understand the same principles. And as long as that is in balance, the aesthetics follow. And then
mhm,
I just think it's so fascinating
mhm,
that such a foundational concept has so
mhm,
many applications.
mhm,
And then, like you were saying, it follows with your whole outfit with the dramatic collar, but like softened, the way
mhm.
that your hair is done. And I noticed that your lips are matching your blazer, and I just love it. It made me really happy.
Thank you.
So,
Wait,
but she
yeah.
also was saying you don't want to do too heavy of eye makeup and not have anything on your lips because then that's that contrast. You have to
Mhm,
balance those two things. Some people may be able to
mhm,
get away with it, but not
mhm.
really. And so I think if you look back at our first couple podcasts, I wasn't wearing any lip color. And I was looking back at some of the clips that we had, and it was funny because my lips just blended right on into my face.
Mhm. Yeah,
Can't
where
even
you
tell the
need more on
difference.
camera, you need more definition. I just put a deeper lipstick shade on to be on camera. I wouldn't typically wear it this dark in my normal, because if you saw me in person, they'd be kinda, like, screaming at you.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the rule of thumb is, yeah, if you have a darker, more defined eye, then you do a little softer. It could be dark, but more neutral in your lipstick, or opposite. If I were wearing this color lipstick, then I would need to do a much softer contour to my eyes and so forth. Otherwise, it does start to look very clownish. Mm. And
So
a
interesting.
super neutral definition for the cheek, not anything that really had, like, color, like, no pink or, peach to it, depending on if you're cool or warm, more like some contouring powder just to contour the cheek a little bit. And I love what you said about with what you do as oral surgeons, and the thought of what your goals are with what you're doing. And I would say in my work, and from at least within the image organization through the Association of Image Consultants International that I'm been a member of and certified with, is that whole thought of authentic presence, that we just build off from your own natural characteristic traits, which is my love about it. Is I'm not out to make somebody something that they aren't. I'm there to help them see and recognize their own natural, true beauty for women and handsomeness or dapperness for men, because I work both with men and women, that we all have our own authentic piece and we should just help it shine. One other quick thought that resonates with it and is important to me is I don't believe in reinvention. I believe in transformation. I don't believe you leave your past and tuck it all away like it wasn't there. Now, maybe there are some things you do need to leave at different places in life, but who you are is because of what your past was. So I think we transform.
I tell myself that every day when I complain about my little wrinkles around my eyes. I'm like, well, that's from a lot of smiles, Sarah. Don't hate on it.
Yeah.
I think what resonates with me with what you're saying is just the intentionality. Because if you're coming on here and just talking about fashion, Erin, you got to be a lot more fashionable. That doesn't really resonate with me. I've always been kind of a tomboy and low maintenance, and I want to look good just as much as anyone else, but I kind of also don't care enough to put in the effort sometimes. I have other really important things going on. I am very intentional in other parts of my life, though, so this is one spot that I just haven't really considered or fully brought in. But something definitely to think about. So if you're someone like me, or I'm assuming Sarah is kind of similar to me,
I
this
think
all
about it. I
sounds
just don't put it into
yeah,
practice.
exactly. It sounds really cool and exciting and like, yeah, I should do that. But like, how do we get started? How do you recommend working on this image, I'll say curation?
Yes,
Curation.
because it sounds like you were saying before, once you kind of understand it, it becomes like second nature. But in my brain, I'm like, how in the world can that become second nature? How do you it seems overwhelming to me.
Mhm. There's definitely different ways that you can go about it and different levels. Like within my work, we put together with my interns that I have a personal style mini series. So somebody wants to just like tip their big toe in a little bit and learn a little bit, and that's a great place to start. There's many books and resources out there that you can go to and start to study. Color, I think, is a great place to start. Even though years ago I offered color analysis as its own standalone, and for a while, it's like my thought was like color is a part of proportion and line. Color is a part of clothing personality. So really to fully put it to work, you need it all together. So then I created a personal signature style program that dives in deep and learns those things. And it has the tools, the color palettes, the online style program, and all the things that support it. And it's a series program that I work one-on-one with a client and take them through. So I'm going to help narrow it down so they only need to know what's right for them or maybe a couple of voids, and then they don't have to worry about everything else going on. So there's varying levels depending on what the desire or the needs are. But recently, because colors become very popular again, I did reintroduce just a standalone connected to color program too, so where they just learn color for themselves, and then that's where I always start with a strategy call with individuals, complimentary, to learn what their desires are, what they're looking for, about who they are to know what is right for them. And it can so my work tracks still like what I call my studio services, my image studio services that are all dress and wardrobe and makeup. Like I can teach makeup technique and all those things too. Um, or is it somebody who wants to develop their appearance, but they wanna use it for professional gain, and they wanna craft a brand and a presence that's gonna support them, and that could be supporting them in the thought of just career development and in a specific role in climbing whatever the ladder, for lack of a better word right now, the corporate ladder. Dentistry may or may not have that in it, I'm not sure. Um, or could be, say, like you ladies too, where Erin, you've started your own business. I know more about what you're doing, where you have your brand of the retreat you're doing, and then the podcast. So Sarah, I'm thinking you're probably very similar. So then
I
you
just
could
have
look.
chickens and avocados.
Oh, there you go. I love it. Chickens and avocados. I love it. Um, so you could look at how are you gonna craft that personal brand presence to support you and grow either a leadership presence or executive presence or professional presence, whichever buzzword or area that you're in. So then in that strategy call is when we have a conversation and think about like well, what is right for you? Is it just having your colors done? Or do we want to spend several months together periodically? And another thing I say too, time and money is always the thing that backs us, like, how are you going to do all this stuff? And what I say is, other than a few times where it is some one on one conversations or time together, either in person or virtually, because through the years since COVID in particular, we've really transitioned things so I can work with people all across the world actually. But with that thought is because we're talking particularly in the appearance piece, but really I would say it even goes into the behavior and communication pieces. We're talking about things that you're doing every day. So you're not necessarily having to carve out a whole bunch of extra time to practice it and learn it and do it, because what we're going to do is have you implement it into just your daily activities, just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind about things to do, so that it's not going to take you lots of extra.
Does someone have a cat?
You hear you hear rattling? It'd
Do
be
a jingle jangle?
my dog is scratching his neck. Dasher.
That was very Christmassy.
It
That's her
was.
reindeer.
Was
I
it?
thought it was Santa was already in Kalamazoo.
That's funny. Well, Dasher is my dog, so maybe the reindeers are here.
Oh, cute. I love it. So I was thinking, like, I was wondering, how long does something like this take? And like, is it 1 hour call once a week for 5 months? Is it how long does this take?
It depends on which direction we head. So if somebody just wants colors done, I can do just a virtual assessment where they send me they send some specific pictures I request, and I do the colors for them and send them their results, and just a short consultation, like 15-minute call with it. Or I do full colors where we go through and teach you how to walk through the color process, teach you about color and how to implement it into your wardrobe. That's my full connected to color program. So that's 2 sessions typically. And then into the signature personal style program, that is 2 to 3 sessions. And a follow-up call. And then my coaching and personal brand work depends on the program that we head into. But the professional is 3 to 4 months of a call or 2 a month, and then I have a professional plus and the executive and full. I'm certified in 360 reach assessment. It's a personal brand assessment tool, so then it just kind of becomes it's depends on the program we're in, I would say. So, but
Okay.
typically, like a 4 to a 9-month commitment, the deeper and broader we go,
Wow.
1 to 2 calls. Or what I have done for clients, say, who really want to get started, and it's easier for them to just do like a VIP day or a day and a half together. I've had
Mhm.
clients fly in and we meet and we get a good portion defined and started, and then we support it with some virtual calls over whatever. I'm pretty um, pliable in how I work with my clients.
Yeah.
We determine what's going to work best together.
I think it's cool because I think doing it that way, and tell me if I'm totally off base with this. It sounds like Erin was saying, she was wearing certain colors and things that she learned were better colors for her. And you
Uh-huh.
get that sort of immediate gratification, which is what we like as surgeons, and the feedback, right? And so that, like, by having that initial meeting with you and learning more about yourself, and you develop this confidence that then continues, and so you can build that personal brand base, because if you already don't feel authentic in who you are, you feel like how you look doesn't really portray what you're trying to portray, it
Right.
doesn't feel authentic to yourself, then it's very hard to continue to build on that. But I like how you do it. You start with making sure that the person is knows who they are and develops that confidence, and then you can better build on top of that with everything else that you're doing with the coaching and the style and the branding and all of the things. And I think that's such a incredibly wise thing that you've done. I just think it's
I
really
appreciate
cool.
that. Yeah, what I say,
Yeah.
it's just building blocks, and everybody learns differently and at different rates and what works in their life. So finding what process is going to work for them, and what levels, and then I always say, don't worry, I won't make you look like me, because if you're not a romantic dramatic and like, phew, Aaron's like, phew. Well, you saw me in my big woolly bully coat, didn't you? I think I wore that to dinner that night.
I do love
So
the whimsy of a big woolly coat, though. That's very on brand for me.
I think you
well,
just
yeah,
wore one yesterday, didn't you?
Yeah, I
I've
think
got a
so.
closet full of furs that I never really get to wear. It's very sad.
Yeah, San
I
Diego.
understand. I have a few of those too, even in Michigan. So,
I'm just gonna ask you a quick question about your
uh
childhood. When you were growing up, what were you like? Because you said you've always been into fashion. When did you decide in
yeah.
your early childhood that that was really part of who you were? Was the colors and the fashion and the style and that sort of aesthetic?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I like to sew. My grandma let me start sewing on her sewing machine when I was little, like 3 or 4.
Wow.
And then I ended up being raised by my grandmother. My brother, I have 2 brothers. I was the only girl, and, I remember in high school, my grandma liked makeup. She'd go to the Estee Lauder counter and get her foundation and different things, but, I remember going to I don't remember if it was like Rite Aid or like a Walgreens Today or whatever, and staring for hours at the makeup counter. I mean, I just loved that stuff of picking out color. And then when I was in school for hygiene, that's when color analysis was very popular in the early mid 80s. And my boyfriend at the time's mom bought me the Color Me Beautiful book. And I don't know if I'd talked about color or if I have no idea where that intersection came from, but I love that book. And later I met Carol Jackson through AICI, through
That's
the
so
Image
cool.
organization. But I mean, that's kind of where it all started. I liked sewing and I like style and the whole fashion piece to it. I had a bedroom set that, in the home we were in, older style homes where it had one full bathroom and that was it. And there were 3 kids and my grandma was there. And um, so when we'd get up in the morning, I'd be the first one in the shower, and then I'd head up to my room, and I had this old, bureau with the big round mirror, and that's where I did my hair and my makeup. So it was just kind of like it was kind of glamorous and kind of inbred in me, I guess. I don't know.
It's so interesting, especially with 2 brothers, right? Because you'd think
Right.
a lot of times,
Mhm.
like, you would think that you'd
Mhm.
become more, like, rough and tumble. You'd be more like me
Yeah.
and Aaron, even though I only
But
have
I will say,
sisters.
yeah, I have that part of me,
I have one
though.
brother.
Yeah, my Barbies played with, my dad. Well, my dad stayed in our lives. My mom was, sadly an alcoholic, and she lost us and ended up growing with my grandma, but it was my dad's, ex-mother-in-law, then they stayed compatible
Wow.
and with it. Yeah, it's kind of goofy situation, but we all turned
I
out
love
great.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, my 2 brothers, we've all excelled. I have a brother with a doctorate in music ed, a brother with a master's in CAD design engineering. So we've all done
Wow.
well in life. But so I think my grandmother was, a hard driving woman. She had a building named after her and everything in Christian education. So we had great
Wow.
role model example. Um, I think if had I not grown up in a small community, and part of my dental connection was my general dentist who I had babysat his kids. And in ninth grade, I had a career unit in English class, and I must have been talking to him. That's when he asked me to clean his office. And then he says, "Well, you should do your unit on women in dentistry. It's an up and coming field." And he's the only one. And it piqued my interest for a bit. And I think I would have been in maybe other aspects of the environment I was in, maybe I would have headed to dental school. But I went from thinking I wanted to be a nurse to a dental hygienist in ninth grade.
How cool. Like, just those chance encounters and those chance connections, right?
Yes,
And you're
yes.
right, I think being in a small town, in a small community, you wouldn't have necessarily had that opportunity.
No, yeah, I mean, girls would become a teacher
Mhm.
or,
If you're in a
a
larger
nurse.
place. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
which I commend you ladies. That's what I think is so cool for women in dentistry today. I was in Detroit at the MDA, Michigan Dental Association conference one time, and the People Mover going around, and it was this group of gals all together, and I think, "Oh, that's cool, all those, hygienists and assistants together and stuff," and then I realized it was a doctor and her team, and, this was a while ago, but I just thought, "This is the coolest thing ever," because back of my generation, yes, there are women who were able to go on and do that, but depending on what your environment is or the size of community, and, I was in a small farming community where I grew up, and,
Yeah,
that's where I miss periodontal work because, yeah, I really did love that, but my back and my neck just couldn't do it anymore,
so true.
and I'd found another career that I really had a passion for that truthfully backs into what the confidence that can be gained. That's where my passion really at
Yeah.
the core of it is, whether it's just confidence in your own physical being, that was kinda spearheaded for myself by my grandma. She was hard charging and accomplished a lot, but she sadly went to her grave not feeling she was beautiful. Fortunately, that didn't stop her, but there's a lot of people that will really slow them down or stop them that
Mhm.
were if you can have that inner confidence and then how to portray yourself on the outside with what I do, that's my real passion.
Can you give
Why
us a story of your favorite client that you've had? This is one of my favorite questions to ask our guests because especially in different fields, because I
Yeah.
Erin and I probably have similar types of people that we draw on when we think of that, but I'm really curious to know in your field.
There's a few. A recent one is actually a dentist, a doctor that I've worked with. She's not working clinically now, starting a new product that she was getting ready to launch and get funding. I helped her with the video she's doing of how she presents herself and on camera digital presence. But what I found was where she really needed some help was more in her voice and the sound of her voice, the confidence that she gained from that. And now she's pitching for funding and so forth. And I just saw her. She was actually at the Do retreat, and the confidence that she has in herself now is just really amazing. So that's
It's
been
fun to
fun
see
to
that
be
transformation.
a part. Yeah, what I always say, I'm so fortunate I get to go on this journey with my client to help guide them and where my work and my coaching work, I say it's more of a consultative coaching. Like I've got to teach some things to help them implement it, but then I'm just there to be the cheerleader and help them build the confidence and the know-how and what they're learning that's coming really off from themselves.
Very cool. That's so cool.
Thank you so much, Kelly. I
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
I remember meeting you and hearing what you're doing, and I was just so fascinated. I'm like, I want to hear all about this. You were telling me about the color analysis and how you
Uh-huh.
do the line work and help people decide if they should wear the purple on the outside or the inside, and if you want the big flowers or the little flowers. There is so much to
Right.
it. My scientific brain
Mhm.
is like, I never
Yes,
even
going like
considered all
fun.
this. So
Yes.
I think it's really fun, but also a very useful tool that I think a lot of us have not really thought about or aren't
Mhm.
implementing. And so I love bringing this and sharing this to the world. I'm wondering, like, how did I never hear about image consulting before? So
And I just think
Yeah.
it's so special that you're able to do you're like, those things are all very, like, on the surface and catchy, but the work that you're doing is so much deeper than that, you know what I mean? And so I think
Yes.
in my brain, I've always thought of like, the color thing like, "Oh, great, that's cool, colors, whatever." What you're doing is so much deeper, and I think that that's the real true value in what you're offering and what you have to offer. That's a great start, like I was saying before, that's a great start, but there's so much more value, in what
Yeah.
you're doing than just
exactly.
that on the
Yeah.
exterior.
That makes
Well,
me happy you guys see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm really excited
Mhm.
because Kelly has offered to collaborate with us for the retreat and to offer a consultation as a drawing item for one of our attendees. So
Mhm.
someone is going to get to have that awesome coaching experience with you. I know I'm probably not allowed to win technically, or people would be like, "Oh, great, Erin won," but, like, I really want to win
I know.
this, so I can skew the results if I need to. No.
Right, yeah. You have to
Promise I
sign up
won't.
separate.
Yeah, so I will probably be calling you Kelly because 'cause I'm just fascinated about all these things. It would be really, really fun and interesting to implement some of these things. So, where can we find you if we wanna do more, if maybe we want to book that free initial consultation, if we maybe are interested in a
Mhm.
color consultation, how can we and our listeners find you?
Thank you. If you remember my name, you'll get it you'll be able to get to me, but, my website is kellyduggan.com, KELLYDUGGAN.com. You can contact me direct via email. It's kd@kellyduggan.com, and you can reach me by phone, call, or text at 2.
Amazing.
Yes, I also have a link tree that has where you can get to the personal style mini series and different things. Maybe I could send that to you, or it's on the footer of my emails. You could see the link tree link. I think
Okay.
I can't remember what it is right now, but that has a whole host of things. And for the individual who wants to know more about image management, I have a healthcare section too, but I've done a lot of writing through the years. So my learning libraries, professional presence development, as well as an area that's specific to dental and healthcare is there too, the link on my link tree.
Great. And I know
Wonderful.
you are periodically doing online seminars and classes and things
Mhm.
like that as well that people can utilize. So
Yes.
thank you so
Thank,
much for joining us,
Yes, thank you. It's
Kelly.
been such a joy to meet you.
thank
I
you.
am
Likewise. Yes.
excited to keep wearing my winters and have you tell
Yes.
me if it's wrong.
Yeah. 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 And we'll need to chat more offline.
Thank you
I love it.
again, and
Thank
we'll
you.
catch you later.
Sounds
All
great.
right.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Love this conversation? Don't keep it to yourself. Hit follow, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. See you on the next episode of The Resting Stitch Face.